Street Jesus here, and today's video is not about me, it's about the content. So you can stare at Buddha while I read. Acting on the suggestions of many people, I saved this story for the new year. I would have ended up dropping this just before Christmas. So Merry Christmas. I didn't want to go four-alarm doom and gloom on the Christmas season. That was last year, and as we can see, it didn't get published. So fuck Christmas cheer. I finished this video, and you're getting it this time. I'm here to tell you, people are dropping like flies out there. Even professional athletes are suddenly dropping to the ground and dying on the spot. They can't hide it because we're seeing it everywhere. Those of us who are looking anyway. It's kind of hard to hide college athletes that are suddenly dropping from a heart attack on national television. Unless you don't watch sports and you're a news snob that prefers only your specific brand of lies. If you go on YouTube and you search for people suddenly dying or people just dropping and dying, they have compilations of people just suddenly dropping. There's tons of them, and I suggest that you go take a look at one after this video, because I don't see them leaving those on the internet for much longer. That is, if you need to see the proof. Russell Brand's a good video to look for. It was right in front of us the whole time. Thanks to Russell Brand, we now have vision, and thanks to me translating his guttural Queen's English to American English, you can now completely understand it. In a few minutes, I'm going to list a load of government conspiracy theories that are no longer theoretical. They are pure Michael Jordan Space Jam in-your-face facts, as they have been proven. I said proven. You see, when conspiracy theories are proven to be true, your dumbass has to stop thinking of it as a conspiracy theory and begin to think of it as proven government corruption. And you're supposed to apply the understanding of the cover-up that went on to the rest of the shit that you consider to be a conspiracy theory, because they cover up all of it. Anyway, for as long as they can, until they no longer can, the mortality rate across the planet has risen. The average life expectancy has dropped 3 years from 79 to 76 years of age average. Mortality was 26% higher among insured 35 to 44-year-olds and 19% higher for 25 to 34-year-olds, continuing a death spike that peaked in the third quarter in 2021 at a staggering 101%, which is 79% above normal. Young people and healthy people, people with insurance, I might add, people who can see a doctor anytime they need, the people you would not expect to die are dying at an alarming rate. All this within the greatest, most technologically advanced and most medically advanced, with the greatest advanced educational institutions available on the planet, has the highest suicide rates, highest heart disease, the highest chronic liver disease, and the most drug overdoses. But none of that is causing the death spike. None. Nope. The bought and paid for media mouthpieces all dance like marionettes and point to COVID-19 as being the cause, and depending on which brand of lies and news you choose, will depend on who they also point the finger at as causing it. But that does not fully explain the increased and incurred incidents. COVID-19 deaths dropped 84% from the first 3 quarters of 2021 for the same period in 2023. COVID deaths have been steadily decreasing, but unexplained and undiscussed death has been increasing. As you know, in my theory, COVID deaths were never really that high anyway. Those numbers were padded with other forms of death, but were written on the death certificate as COVID-19 because the doctors got paid good money for every name that they put down on a death certificate as a victim died from COVID-19. The amount ranges from $48,000 to the hospital and $3,000 to the doctor to $34,000 for the doctor and an undisclosed amount to the hospital. I do recall that $34,000 amount being said on the news shortly after the pandemic started. I heard it on Fox, I heard it on MSNBC, and I heard it on CNN. So that is the number I'm going to go with. That the doctors got bonuses for writing gunshot wounds, deaths, and many other causes of death down as COVID-19 is a fact. A fact, and if you didn't know that is a fact, you are a perfect example why government can consistently pull their corrupt bullshit and get away with it. Fools like you. Yeah, I said it. And which is more important, the amount that they were paid or that they were paid? So, they've been killing people off for 3 years now, 4 years, whatever it's been. Why is the traditionally healthiest sector of our society, young, employed, well-insured, tax-paying workers, dying off at such alarming rates? Public health officials aggressively oversaw the pandemic response for better or worse, but we should wonder, why aren't they looking into this? The answers would require a massive reckoning and reorganization of our systems of government and a massive reckoning of the media that can only be described as controlled, and this will cause nothing short of a complete shift as to how we run our societies as a whole. This excess spike in deaths is bigger than the pandemic, and that it has been swept under the rug and ignored by the media is an indictment for all media to be accounted for, because this is even more disturbing than our government's unleashing the COVID-19 virus on us in the first place. That shit is so sinister it makes your skin crawl. Vaccines were given to more than 270 people in the United States alone, almost 6 billion worldwide, and among them babies, pregnant women, and it was forced on workers under their employer's stern mandate. Take that shot or lose your job. Those were the only two choices, unless the employer can create a way that you could work from home. Now, here is the icing on this whole shit cake. It has foreign DNA integrated with the DNA of the recipient, and this is deeply unsettling because it's riding in on the vaccine shot. The foreign DNA is a pre-written code attached to a virus, all via the CRISPR machine. It's genome engineering using CRISPR technology to code the DNA genome to the exact desired preset instructions, and once done, they attach it to a virus which assaults the recipient's cells and replicates its preset instructions to alter the DNA of the recipient, in this case, causing medical weaknesses, the recipient to be susceptible to certain medical conditions or viruses specifically, and the big one is heart disease. One is left to question. Did they weaken the immune systems of 300 million people intentionally and knowingly and deliberately? I think that the answer is in Google's definition of genome, where they explain their reasons for wanting to study mass genome editing. It can help public health officials understand how microorganisms move through populations and change over time. They want to intentionally cause things that will allow them to study the results. It's a confession without the signatures. Government officials who sanctioned unprecedented censorship of dissent, enforcing pandemic measures through media pressure, must be called to account. Actuaries and industry and analysts predict the effects will continue among people with life insurance until 2030 and are anticipated to be the highest at younger ages, the age group of people who would be able to stand up and resist an authoritarian government. It's not a coincidence that no sooner than they had everybody, except the homeless, who everybody is too stupid to listen to, on lockdown, they had every cable company known to God working 24/7, to the point that I seen them jackhammering at 4:30 in the morning in front of super rich, high-rise swank apartments to begin installation of heavy surveillance equipment so they can keep tabs on everybody after we decided we'd had enough and came out of our homes. There were other government projects that began implementation during that period, but for the sake of video links, they can wait for another day. We handed it to them on a silver platter at full strength. A rebellion would have had a slim chance in hell. After this, it's just going to be a slaughter, just one huge slaughter. But the stats. These predictions statistically defy normal expectations of mortality for a robust population of people with life insurance. Now consider how other disability-afflicted and poorly insured Americans may fare. To ensure future generations are protected and can be ready for the possibility of another pandemic, Congress needs to assess what worked and what did not. Instead, they're keeping us distracted with false accusations and allegations and legal proceedings against Donald Trump, as if any of that shit's going to matter. They have not answered the questions about what the adverse effects of the vaccines would be, what will be the effects over the next 5 to 10 years, and why will that information be withheld from us and not be released to the public for another 75 years? I said 75 years. 75 fucking years. Long enough that none of us will be alive to find out the truth, even though the truth isn't really that hard to guess at. Another 75 years filled with natural and government-created disasters, and plenty of time for anybody who lived through the pandemic to be dead. Why did politicians and the medical manufacturers of the COVID-19 shot demand legal indemnity? Why were we told that they would stop COVID-19 transmission when they were never trialed to stop COVID-19's transmission? And if it was never trialed to stop COVID-19 transmission, why did they push the goddamn drug in the first place? Because the shot was something other than what they say. Or should I say, it contains something else within it. If you ever needed to share a video, it's going to be this one. And like a voice of sanity, the sweet sound of intelligence, the calm reasoning that all sane people have within their mind, you hear me ask you, why ain't you pissed? Jim Jones didn't die. He moved to Europe, took over the World Health Organization so he could build a bigger Kool-Aid stand. Then he came back to the United States and bought the Center for Disease Control and had them do the advertising for his new Kool-Aid drink. I'm going to list conspiracy theories that are no longer theory. Check this out. Here are the facts. And this is by no means a compiled list of conspiracy theories proven true. It's just some of them, a small sum of them. Number one, government was secretly body snatching dead babies in the 1950s. True shit. And although, number two, and although this one is from Canada, I had to throw it in here. 5,000 people were fired from government jobs because they failed the gay detector machine that didn't work anyway. The name of the machine was the Fruit Machine. Military, police, and various sectors of government, 5,000 people were shamed and fired. Number three, Operation Valkyrie, the plot to kill Hitler, the one that Tom Cruise failed at. The government long denied this because governments are not supposed to engage in assassination. It's kind of taboo. If you don't try to kill their leaders, then their leaders aren't trying to kill you. In theory, anyway. Hell, the CIA has failed 600 times trying to kill Fidel Castro. It's true shit, too. Look it up. Number four, we tried to develop a pheromone bomb to turn enemy soldiers gay. This way, they would throw down their weapons and start humping each other, and we'd just walk right in and steal all their national treasures, install a puppet government, and use their strategic location to launch our aircraft and tank divisions from, and nukes, of course. 5. Bombing Cambodia during the Vietnam War. We denied that shit forever, but there can be no doubt we did indeed bomb the shit out of a section of Cambodia. 6. Nazi scientists are hired by the U.S. government to work on Plum Island and other places, and we dismiss punishment for their atrocities they committed while working under Adolf Hitler. And if you don't know about Plum Island, you should look it up. They relocated the entire lab to Manhattan, Kansas, but I need to move on because there's a lot more to say. Business plot coup. Granddaddy Bush started this little practice that still goes on today. In fact, administrative level employees of our espionage departments of government are rewarded for their work with salary jobs in huge companies such as Google and Apple, as well as banks and companies associated with the industrial military complex. Jobs that they don't even have to show up for to get their check. One is left comparing this practice to the mafia and union jobs. Number 8, false Gulf War testimony given to greenlight the war. We had fake people giving fake testimony on live television in front of the entire American population, lying straight to our faces so that we would feel good about invading Iraq. 9. The Tuskegee incidents. The government offered black men in Tuskegee free health care and then turned around and gave them syphilis intentionally, and then the cure came about, but for the sake of study, they were never informed nor were they ever cured, and they went to their graves not knowing what our government had done to them and with the sufferings of syphilis. Number 10, Operation Condor. It's about leading coups and putting puppet leaders in charge of South American countries so that we could have our way with minerals and resources for the entire Western Hemisphere, as well as prevent the commies from getting their foothold there. Number 11, the Bohemian Grove, a little swanky spot where the upper echelon of our society met to discuss various aspects of how they were going to manipulate the outcomes of politics and other things. The Bushes did really well in it, as did the Clintons. Why invest in one side hoping you bet on the winner when, in fact, they've actually been buying both sides? It's why nothing ever changes, though we change presidents in Congress, and it's why they maintain their crippling grip on maintaining a two-party system. The FBI spied on John Lennon, and it wasn't for information on the new solo album or naked pictures of Yoko Ono either. Number 13, tobacco's big lie. They helped tobacco industry to continue to lie about the dangers of smoking and that it was causing cancer and that they were adding chemicals to make it more addictive. 14, FBI spies on political parties and activist groups, and that still goes on today. The first female president, number 15, the first female president, 1919, Woodrow Wilson suffered a stroke, so Wilson's wife took over as president, took over the presidential duties. Proven. 16, Roswell, New Mexico. Although the government has never formally came forward and told us that we had captured an alien spacecraft, we do know as a fact that it wasn't a weather balloon, and we also know as a fact that there was a cover-up. This is shit we know. 17. Scientologists infiltrated the government. In the 1970s, at least 5,000 members of Scientology infiltrated the government to spy on them. The leader's wife was even sentenced to prison for her part. 18. Watergate. Illegal wiretapping. If you don't know any more about Watergate, you should look it up sometime. It will really restore your faith in government. 19. The CIA conducted mind control experiments with MK Ultra. Its ties with the government tests with LSD and other drugs. The government loves their drug collection to get people to do shit, even if it's just to get them busted with them. How convenient are those laws? 20. CIA used misinformation to cover up their cocaine operations, as well as tipped off DEA agents against rival dealers. The government hates competition, especially in projects where the money is going to go straight into their pockets. Number 21. Obsolescence. When you see the new iPhone comes out, they want you to buy that new iPhone. So what they do is they make your older phone operate slower to start pushing you in that direction, as well as intentionally causing your battery to deteriorate at a more rapid rate. Having more dropped calls, having a harder time finding a signal. That's just one example. It's a fact. Just look it up. The heart attack gun. Finally, after years of accusing the government of having one, we finally have proven that they do have such a device. It is yet to be proven to have been used on anybody, but just the fact that they kept it from us is conspiracy enough. And trust me, they've used it on lots of people you've heard of. Number 23, the government is beaming messages into our brains, also known as microwave hearing. Proven to be a fact through Freedom of Information Act. It's been exposed to the government, has in past experimented with using microwaves to beam messages into our brains. Since the CIA has perfected it, and now uses ultrasound carrier waves to envelope and carry specific sounds or small messages into a tight beam directly focused on a single specific target. That's right, baby. Proven fact. Look it up. Directed audio and the Las Vegas sphere. Number 24, weather control. In the mid-20th century, they began to notice patterns in weather after bombing. They then began to run experiments and eventually implemented a target softening technique that would follow a good bombing with a hard rain and become part of plans in all wars since Vietnam. And if I have to explain to you what HAARP is, you probably should have been drowned at birth. 25, greatest hero of our time, Edward Snowden. All these theories that we wondered about, was the government really spying on us, etc., all proven with great detail that they are in fact spying on all of us. Every text message, every phone call, every email, every person in your contact list. Oh yeah, and now they have artificial intelligence that continues to collect even more aspects of your life. You could go window shopping, not pull out a single bit of money to buy a single thing, but I promise you they know every single business that you stopped at and looked at, every street you traveled, every intersection you came to, what car you drove to get there, and every single person you had with you. Of course, you need all of that information to predict your every move, just in case they want to pick you up for questioning, to snitch on your family and friends. So, my question is this: why ain't you pissed? I say, why ain't you pissed? There are 25 instances where the government used common citizens to harass, embarrass, and drove God only knows how many people to suicide or the heart attack gun. And there you were, down on your knees, blowing our freedom and helping the oppressors do it, time and time again. You vocally made fun of conspiracy nut in your life, and without reason, you were publicly shaming him, helping the government to make him look crazy. And now we know that he wasn't crazy at all. But your actions are appearing kind of crazy, but he's looking like a spot-on genius. And had the decency and courage to speak out so your dumb ass could know that you were being lied to and being screwed over by the government. Now that you have to admit that hundreds of those crazy conspiracies really are the truth, I just have to ask you, why ain't you pissed? Seriously, why ain't you pissed? I mean, besides the fact that the government played you like a teenage girl from Iowa, starting her first night in prostitution, now all that you laughed at has really been happening, and as that sets in, one would think that you'd be mad as hell. The conspiracy theorist, although that's an improper term to use, you should be calling him truth master or psychic god or the popular term of truth teller, because he had to carefully investigate, ask questions, constantly read up on topics he was unfamiliar with, piece things together without a soul to help logic all out, or be a soundboard for the ideas and suspicions. And these brave conspiracy professors, acting on what we commonly call whistleblowers, they had to put those together one by one and examine them for truth or the lack thereof. Generally, no more than one is actually proven by a single person. Each conspiracy is one of the many hidden and suppressed truths that we know about our corrupt government, in a sea of felonious theft and cover-up that has been and still is detrimental to everything that has ever been beautiful about America. But you skeptical idiots had it all dropped on you like a pallet of stolen golden bars from a government helicopter. It shouldn't have fell on you like that. God knows you should have woke up when Edward Snowden handed the truth to each and every American in the exact way that it had to be delivered, to wake up a herd of sheep in the only acceptable way it could ever properly be delivered. But you still stayed asleep. Many of you government ass-kissers are still slapping the snooze bar on the government woke alarm because you can't handle the truth. It would melt your pathetic minds. 5 more minutes, Mommy. I'm not ready to wake up and face the day of knowing that we've been lied to by everybody in authority that we've ever respected. Just 5 more minutes, Mommy. I guess that's what the government was thinking when they hid all the truth about their theft. Oh, you common plebeians are just too stupid to understand why we have to steal this money and this art and these natural resources and ... So, I look at people who aren't pissed off at the government about government conspiracy and corruption like Betamax VCRs and women that don't give oral. I'm like, damn, bitch, they still make you? Thanks, Chris Rock. Well said, brother. If you weren't pissed off at the government for pulling so much sketchy crap at the cost of American assets and lives, then you've ignored current events for so long that you don't even know who Edward Snowden is or how he proved, let me say it again, he proved that our government is the most sinister organization to operate on planet Earth since, well, let's face it, since time began. And if you are not angry about that, then that means that you're okay with that. You are a failed result in human evolution, and you deserve every evil thing the CIA subjects you to, and much, much more when you meet God in the afterlife. You better start acting like you give a fuck for real. I always get this response from people I corner over this. Well, what are we supposed to do about it? Well, you're supposed to be pissed off. You're supposed to present this and every other proven conspiracy, as well as any unproven conspiracy with a shred of logic or evidence, to every human being you know. And you're supposed to not shut up about it until the people collectively rise up screaming, we've had enough. But you're not pissed off, and you won't say shit. Your ambiguous loyalty that follows your misplaced animosity towards conspiracy theorists. Pardon me, truth seekers. That shit earns you a special section in hell when you die. And since there's a God who will come face to face with when this is all over with, this earns justification that each individual like this deserves a lot of beatdowns before death. Because justice ain't dead yet. And I'm convinced that vengeance and justice shouldn't be exclusively God's own. If God made us in his image, then that qualifies me to get some in the here and now. That's right. There's still time for you to stroke your way into a nursing home to be abused by their staff and fellow psychotic patients. A prayer for karmic backlash that stays wedged in your face until you die. God said, I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either or one or the other. So, because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. Yeah, like a part-time hooker who hates her job, says the street Jesus. I believe that wishy-washy fence-saddling crap is going to bite you in the ass in the end. And your fellow mankind, you held up the awakening just long enough for them to pull this shit off, and there is no reason as to why you should not share equal blame with the oppressors. With the oppressors, it all comes down to stealing. But you didn't get a single nickel. They had an excuse. It was greed, but your excuse was just about French kissing some government ass. But enough about you. You'll get yours. The oppressors used to just steal a little bit, so nobody would find out. And it was hard to prove that. It was hard to prove then. Now it's so glaringly obvious that only full-blown idiots don't see it. They can say on the news that just two government organizations, the Pentagon and HUD, have stolen $23 trillion, and you move on with your day as if you were told that today would be clear sunshine and blue skies. These are the kind of people you just want to hang your head a little bit and say, oh, have pity on this one. He was born with the feeble as fuck 19 disease. The other type of people that don't see it are the people who refuse to see it. That is a self-imposed feeble as fuck 100% disease. They piss me off as much as corruption in government does, to the point where we should get the damn time machine running so we can send them back to the days of electroshock therapy and lobotomies. If they don't fix their dumbasses, nothing will. And that's just about all the science we got for them, or want to have for them. We know that just two government agencies, HUD and Department of Defense, have $23 trillion. Now that's trillion with a T. I'm doubting that China's going to give a fuck who stole what when they call the note due. They're going to be like, hey, get the fuck out. Mexico might take you. That is the ones they don't keep as slaves, sex slaves, and just all around general entertainment purposes. I'm telling you, yet again, that now is the time to speak up, because if you don't, you will have failed mankind, God, yourself. I'm curious to see if you really give a shit. My people, my friends, God, 365, love and cherish your family and friends before they accidentally see a politician robbing people with fixed incomes of their life savings and get ghosted with a heart attack gun. EMP the government every step of the way. If the shit doesn't prove that no politician has ever gave a shit about you or me, then you have the feeble as fuck 19 virus, and I'm not even sure that you're even a value for secret government extremely high level radiation tests. Bring down the 5G network. It's the synapses of the government brain while they work to shut yours down. And people, make miserable the lives of bitch-ass white trash with the feeble-minded as fuck 19 virus. Every day, I mean every single day, make them suffer in misery. Street Jesus loves you.